I watched my wife dance with another man at her company gala, his hand settling on her back like it belonged there. When I told her we'd be having a different conversation if she'd dance with him again, she smiled and walked right back to him. That was the moment I realized she wanted me to see it. What I found on her phone that night made me wish I'd left her at that ballroom. But what her own father did in that courtroom, that's the part nobody saw coming. My name is Ashton Wells. I'm 43, living in Phoenix, Arizona. Been married to Casey for 17 years. She's a marketing manager at a pharmaceutical company, always climbing that corporate ladder. Me? I was a warehouse supervisor until the company shut down our distribution center 8 months ago. Being unemployed changes a man. Strips away pieces of who you thought you were. Last April, Casey told me her company was hosting a spring charity gala at the Meridian Hotel. She wanted me there. I was surprised since she'd stopped inviting me to work events over the past year. Said I wouldn't fit in, that I'd be bored. But this time she insisted. I borrowed a suit jacket from my brother-in-law. Mine didn't fit anymore. The ballroom was all crystal chandeliers and marble floors. Women in evening gowns, men in expensive suits. I felt like an imposter. Casey looked stunning in a red dress and diamond earrings I didn't remember buying. Then I saw him. Jay Kaufman, Vice President of Strategic Development. Mid-40s, charcoal suit, silver cufflinks. Casey's voice changed when she introduced us, got softer. I shook his hand, felt his firm grip. 20 minutes later, they were dancing. His hands settled low on her back. She smiled up at him, that smile I hadn't seen directed at me in over a year. I stood by the wall, pretending to read the auction list, wondering if everyone in that room knew what I was just beginning to figure out. When the song ended, I caught Casey's arm gently. Can we talk for a second? I kept my voice low. Casey looked annoyed. What is it, Ashton? I glanced at Jay, who was watching from across the room. Who is that guy? I told you. He's a VP. He's important for my career. That didn't look like career networking, Casey. Her jaw tightened. Don't start. Not here. I took a breath. If you step out there and dance with him again like that, then we're going to be having a very different conversation when we get home. She stared at me. Maybe we should have that conversation anyway. She pulled away and walked straight back to Jay. He handed her a drink. They returned to the dance floor, closer this time. I watched for another 10 minutes. Then I walked out, didn't make a scene, just left. I waited by our car in the parking lot for 40 minutes before Casey came out. Casey got in the car and slammed the door. Not hard, but enough to make a point. She stared straight ahead, arms crossed, jaw set tight. I started the engine, but didn't put it in drive yet. You want to tell me what that was? Casey said, her voice sharp. What was? Don't play dumb, Ashton. You embarrassed me in front of my colleagues. I turned to look at her. I embarrassed you? I watched you dance with that man like I wasn't even there. We were networking. It's called building professional relationships. Is that what you call it when his hand is on your back and you're smiling at him like that? Casey shifted in her seat. You're being paranoid. Am I? I pulled out my phone and opened our bank app. Took me 30 seconds to find what I needed. Then explained this charge from La Rosa Jewelry. $240. When did you buy jewelry, Casey? Because I sure didn't see any new pieces at home. Her face went pale. Just for a second. Then she recovered. That was for my mother's birthday. Your mother's birthday is in October. This charge was from 3 weeks ago. She looked out the window. I bought it early. Stop lying to me. The words came out harder than I intended. Casey turned back, eyes blazing. Excuse me. I said stop lying. I'm not stupid. Something's going on with you and Jay Kaufman, and you're standing there acting like I'm crazy for noticing. Nothing's going on. Then let me see your phone. Silence. Long, heavy silence. That's what I thought, I said. I put the car in drive and pulled out of the parking lot. The drive home took 20 minutes. Neither of us spoke. The silence was thick, suffocating. Every few blocks, I'd glance over and see her staring out the window, jaw still tight, fingers gripping her clutch. When we pulled into the driveway, Casey got out before I'd even shut off the engine. She walked straight to the front door, unlocked it, and went inside. I sat in the car for a minute, hands on the steering wheel, trying to process what just happened. This wasn't just a bad night. This was something bigger, something that had been building for months, maybe years. I've been too focused on finding work, too caught up in my own problems to notice my wife slipping away. I finally went inside. The house was dark except for a light in the kitchen. I found Casey standing by the counter, still in her red dress, pouring herself a glass of wine. "We need to talk," I said. "Not tonight, Ashton." "Yes, tonight. Because if we don't talk now, we never will." She took a long drink, then set the glass down. "Fine. What do you want to know? How long has this been going on?" "Nothing is going on. Casey." She looked at me, and for the first time in months, I saw something real in her eyes. Not anger, not defensiveness. Fear. "I need some air," she said quietly. She walked past me, grabbed her keys from the hook, and left through the front door. I heard her car start. Then she was gone. I stood in the kitchen alone, staring at her half-empty wine glass, knowing that when she came back, everything was going to change. Casey didn't come home that night. I waited until 2 in the morning, sitting on the couch with all the lights off, phone in my hand. Part of me wanted to call her. The other part knew I'd just get voicemail. Around 3, I gave up and went to the guest room. Couldn't bring myself to sleep in our bed. I sat on the edge of the mattress, still wearing my dress shirt and slacks, staring at nothing. That's when I saw it. Casey's phone was on the hallway dresser, right outside the bedroom. She'd left it behind. In 17 years of marriage, I'd never seen her go anywhere without that phone. It was practically attached to her hand. I stood up and walked over to it. The screen lit up when I picked it up. No lock code. She'd disabled it months ago, said it was too much hassle. I opened her messages. The first thread at the top was labeled J. My stomach dropped. I clicked it. The messages went back months. Late-night texts. Good morning messages. Photos. One was from 2 weeks ago, a picture of Jay's hand next to hers on a restaurant table, both wearing wedding rings. The caption from Casey read, "Stolen moments." I kept scrolling. My hand was shaking. Jay had written, "Tonight was perfect. Wish we didn't have to hide." Casey replied, "Soon. I'm working on it." Working on what? Leaving me? Divorcing me? There were more. Dozens of them. Plans to meet. Complaints about me. One message from Casey made my blood run cold. He doesn't even notice anymore. I could disappear tomorrow, and he'd probably be relieved. I sat down hard on the floor, back against the wall, phone still in my hand. This wasn't just an affair. This was a whole other life. A relationship with depth, with planning, with a future that didn't include me. At 5 in the morning, I heard a car pull into the driveway. The front door opened. Casey walked in, saw the light on in the hallway, and froze when she saw me sitting there with her phone. "Ashton," she said quietly. I stood up, held up the phone. "How long?" She closed her eyes. "It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. I read everything, Casey. Everything." Her face went pale. "You went through my phone. You left it here. And don't try to flip this on me. How long have you been sleeping with Jay Kaufman?" Silence. "Answer me." "For months," she whispered. "For months. While I've been searching for jobs, worried about our future, trying to hold things together, she'd been building a new life with someone else." "Get out," I said. "Ashton, please." I said get out. Go to his place. Go to a hotel. I don't care. But you're not staying here tonight. Casey's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care anymore. She grabbed her phone from my hand and walked toward the bedroom. "You have 10 minutes, I called after her. She packed a bag and left without another word. After Casey left, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee I didn't drink and watched the sun come up. My mind was racing, but I forced myself to think clearly. Emotions wouldn't help me now. I needed evidence. I needed a plan. Around 8, I called my younger brother, Derek. He'd been through a rough divorce 5 years ago. If anyone knew what I was facing, it was him. "Ash, you okay?" Derek answered on the second ring. "No, I need a lawyer." "What happened?" I told him everything. The gala, the text, Casey leaving. Derek listened without interrupting. "You need Vernon Callahan," Derek said when I finished. "He's in Scottsdale. Tough guy, doesn't mess around. Helped me get a fair deal when Linda tried to clean me out." I wrote down the number. "Thanks. Ash, document everything. Bank statements, texts, anything you can find. Arizona's a no-fault state, but if she's been hiding assets or spending joint money on this guy, you'll want proof." I hung up and got to work. I logged into our bank account and started going through months of statements. There were charges I'd never noticed before. La Rosa Jewelry, like I'd mentioned, but also Bella Vista Restaurant, multiple times. The Crescent Hotel, twice in the past month. A flower shop called Desert Blooms. None of these were places Casey and I had gone together. I took screenshots of everything, saved them to a cloud drive Derek helped me set up years ago. Next, I went through the house. Casey had left in a hurry, taken clothes and toiletries, but nothing else. I found a receipt in her car for a weekend stay at a resort in Sedona from 3 weeks ago. She told me it was a work conference. I photographed the receipt. In her dresser, tucked in the back of her jewelry box, I found a silver bracelet I'd never seen. Expensive, delicate, with an engraving on the inside. Always, Jay. I put it back where I found it, but took a photo first. By noon, I had a folder full of evidence. Bank records showing thousands spent on hotels, restaurants, gifts, text messages, photos. Casey had been careless. Or maybe she just stopped caring about hiding it. I called Vernon Callahan's office and scheduled an appointment for the next day. That afternoon, Casey texted me, "Can we please talk?" I typed back, "Through lawyers." She didn't respond. That night, our daughter Brianna called. She's 22, finishing her senior year at Arizona State. I hadn't told her anything yet. "Hey, Dad. Mom just called me crying. What's going on?" I took a breath. "Your mom and I are going through some things right now." "What kind of things?" "Grown-up things, Bree. It's complicated." "Dad, don't shut me out." I rubbed my eyes. "Your mother had an affair. I found out last night. She's staying somewhere else for now." Brianna was silent for a long moment. "I'm coming home." "You don't need to." "Yes, I do." She hung up before I could argue. Brianna showed up 2 days later with a duffel bag and red eyes. She'd been crying on the drive from Tempe. I met her at the door and pulled her into a hug. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," I said. My voice was rough. Brianna pulled back and looked at me. "Don't apologize, Dad. This isn't your fault." We sat in the living room. I made coffee, the strong kind Brianna liked. She wrapped her hands around the mug and stared into it for a moment before speaking. "Mom called me 4 times yesterday," Brianna said. "She kept saying you overreacted, that you didn't understand the situation." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I'd talk to you first. Then I'd decide." Smart kid. Always had been. "Your mother had an affair," I said plainly. 4 months with a man from her office. I found the messages. I saw the bank statements. She's been lying to both of us. Brianna's jaw tightened. She tried to make it sound like you pushed her away, like you stopped caring. Did I make mistakes? Probably. But I didn't cheat. I didn't build a secret life. Brianna nodded. "I know, Dad." She stayed quiet for a moment, then looked up at me. "What are you going to do?" "I'm filing for divorce. I met with a lawyer yesterday. Vernon Callahan. He's handling the case." "Good," Brianna said firmly. "You deserve better than this." Hearing those words from my daughter hit me harder than I expected. I'd spent 2 days questioning myself, wondering if I'd driven Casey away somehow. But Brianna's support reminded me I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. The next morning, Brianna asked if she could see the evidence. I hesitated, but she insisted. "I need to know the truth, Dad. All of it." I showed her the text messages, the bank statements, the photos. She read through them silently, her expression growing harder with each page. When she finished, Brianna set the phone down and looked at me. "I want to talk to her." "Bree, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. She needs to hear this from me." That afternoon, Brianna called Casey. Put her on speaker so I could hear. "Mom, it's me," Brianna said. Her voice was calm but cold. Casey's voice came through the phone, shaky and hopeful. "Brianna, honey, I'm so glad you called. I've been trying to reach you." "I know. I was with Dad. He showed me everything." Silence on the other end. "How could you do this?" Brianna continued. "How could you lie to us for months? To Dad, to me." "Brianna, it's complicated," Casey started. "No, it's not. You cheated. You spent our money on another man. You broke this family. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. But you did. You hurt Dad. You hurt me. And you don't even seem sorry." Casey's voice split with emotion. "Of course I'm sorry." "Then prove it. Stop blaming Dad. Stop making excuses. Own what you did." Casey didn't respond. The line went quiet for several seconds. "I have to go," Casey finally said. "Yeah, you do," Brianna replied. She hung up. Brianna looked at me, her eyes fierce. "I'm staying until this is over. You shouldn't go through this alone." I nodded, feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Not happiness, not relief, but something close to strength. Vernon Callahan's office was in a glass building in Scottsdale. Modern, clean, professional. He was in his early 60s, Gray hair, sharp eyes, and a firm handshake. Ashton Wells, Vernon said, gesturing to a chair. Your brother spoke highly of you. Let's talk about your situation. I laid out everything. The gala, the phone, the affair, the financial records. Vernon took notes, asked pointed questions, didn't waste time on sympathy. Arizona is a community property state, Vernon explained. Everything acquired during the marriage gets split 50-50 unless we can prove she dissipated marital assets. She spent thousands on this guy. Hotels, jewelry, dinners. All from our joint account. Vernon nodded. That's dissipation. We can argue she wasted marital funds on an extramarital affair. If we prove it, you could get a larger share of the assets. What about the house? If you can afford to buy her out, we'll push for you to keep it. If not, it'll be sold and proceeds divided. I clench my jaw. I want the house. I've put 17 years into that place. She doesn't get to take it. Then we'll fight for it. But I need everything documented. Every receipt, every statement, every message. The more evidence we have, the stronger our case. I handed him a flash drive. It's all there. Vernon plugged it in, scanned through the files. After a few minutes, he looked up. This is solid work, Ashton. You've given me exactly what I need. When can we file? I'll draft the petition this week. We'll serve her next Thursday. That's her day off, correct? I nodded. Good. She won't see it coming. I left Vernon's office feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. For the first time since that gala, I wasn't reacting. I was acting. That evening, Casey texted me again. Please, can we talk? Just the two of us. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to hear what she had to say. But I knew it wouldn't change anything. She'd made her choices. Now I was making mine. I typed back, talked to my lawyer. She didn't respond. The next few days passed in a blur. Brianna helped me go through the house, sorting what was mine from what was ours. We packed Casey's things into boxes and stacked them in the garage. Every item felt like closing a chapter. On Wednesday night, the night before the papers were set to be served, Brianna and I ordered pizza and sat on the couch watching old sitcom reruns. It felt normal, almost peaceful. You're going to be okay, Dad, Brianna said quietly. I know, I replied, and for the first time, I believed it. Thursday morning arrived cold and clear. I woke up early, made coffee, and sat on the porch watching the sunrise. Brianna was still asleep upstairs. The house was quiet, peaceful even. It was the calm before everything changed. Vernon had arranged for the process server to deliver the papers at 9. Casey was staying at a hotel downtown, or so her credit card statement showed. I'd given Vernon the address. At 9:15, my phone rang. Vernon's number. It's done, Vernon said. Papers were served 20 minutes ago. She signed for them. How'd she take it? According to the server, she went pale, asked if there was a mistake. He told her no mistake. She closed the door without another word. I thanked Vernon and hung up. It was official now. No going back. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded with text from Casey. You actually did it. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. This is insane, Ashton. Call me. Please. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I forwarded them all to Vernon. Let him handle her from now on. Around noon, Casey showed up at the house. I saw her car pull into the driveway through the window. Brianna was in the kitchen making lunch. She saw my expression and walked over. Is that Mom? Brianna asked. I nodded, wanting to answer it. No, I will. I opened the door before Casey could knock. She looked terrible. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup, wearing sweatpants and an oversized jacket. Her eyes were red. Ashton, please, Casey said, her voice shaking. Can we just talk? There's nothing to talk about. You had 4 months to talk. You chose not to. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. What you did was a choice. Multiple choices, over and over again. Casey's face twisted. So that's it. 17 years, and you're just done. No, Casey. You were done 4 months ago when you started sleeping with Jay. I'm just making it official. I want to fight this. I'm not letting you take everything. Then fight. My lawyer's information is on the papers. Have yours contact him. I started to close the door. Casey put her hand against it. What about Brianna? Casey asked. You're turning her against me. I didn't have to turn her against anyone. You did that yourself when you lied to her for months. From behind me, Brianna's voice cut through. Dad's right, Mom. This is on you. Casey's face collapsed. She looked past me at Brianna, then back at me. I never wanted this. Neither did I said. But here we are. I closed the door. Through the window, I watched Casey stand on the porch for another minute before walking back to her car. She sat in the driver's seat for a long time, just staring ahead, before finally driving away. Brianna came up beside me. You okay? Yeah, I said. I am. And I meant it. 3 days after the papers were served, I got an unexpected call. The name on the screen read Frank Brennan, Casey's father. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Ashton, Frank's gravelly voice came through. We need to talk. Frank was a retired Marine, tough as nails, not the kind of man who wasted words. He and I had always gotten along, even when Casey and I had our rough patches. What's this about, Frank? Casey called me yesterday, crying. Said you filed for divorce. I did. She told me her side of the story. Now I want to hear yours. I took a breath and told him everything. The gala, the affair, the messages, the financial records. Frank listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. That stupid girl, Frank finally said. His voice was hard. I raised her better than this. Frank, I'm not trying to turn you against your daughter. You don't have to. She did this to herself. He paused. Listen, Ashton, I'm on your side here. What Casey did was wrong. Dead wrong. You're a good man. You didn't deserve this. Hearing that from Casey's own father hit harder than I expected. I appreciate that, Frank. I already told her she's not getting any help from me in this divorce. She made her bed. She can lie in it. You keep that house. You hear me? I'm trying. And if she tries to drag you through the mud, you call me. I'll set her straight. We talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. Brianna, who'd been listening from the doorway, walked over. Grandpa Frank called. Brianna asked. Yeah, he's not happy with your mother. Good. Someone needs to tell her the truth. That afternoon, Casey's lawyer finally contacted Vernon. His name was Martin Shepard. According to the email Vernon forwarded me, Shepard wanted to negotiate terms, suggested mediation to avoid a lengthy court battle. Vernon called me. What do you want to do? What are they offering? 50-50 split on everything. House gets sold, proceeds divided. She keeps her retirement, you keep yours. And the dissipated assets? They're claiming those were legitimate business expenses and gifts. They want us to drop that argument. No, I said firmly. She spent our money on her affair. I want that accounted for. Then we go to court. You ready for that? Absolutely. Vernon chuckled. Good. I'll draft our counteroffer. We'll push for you to keep the house, reimbursement for dissipated funds, and 70-30 split on liquid assets in your favor. Do it. 2 days later, Shepard rejected our counteroffer. We were going to trial. Brianna took the news in stride. Mom always did like to make things harder than they needed to be. This is going to get ugly. I warned her. Let it get ugly. You've got the truth. That night, I sat on the porch with a beer, thinking about everything that had happened in the past 2 weeks. My marriage was over. My wife was fighting me in court. But I had my daughter, I had my dignity, and I had the truth. That was more than Casey could say. The weeks leading up to the court hearing were tense. Casey's lawyer, Martin Shepard, kept pushing for settlement negotiations, but Vernon and I held firm. We weren't backing down. Casey had made her choices, and now she'd have to face the consequences. Then something unexpected happened. Casey showed up at Brianna's apartment near campus. Brianna called me immediately, voice shaking with anger. Dad, Mom just ambushed me at my place. She's trying to get me to talk to you, to convince you to drop the dissipation claim. What did you tell her? I told her no. I told her she made this mess, and she needs to own it. But Dad, she's desperate. She kept saying Jay broke things off with her, that she has nothing left. My jaw tightened. He dumped her. Yeah. Apparently his wife found out about the affair. She threatened to expose him at work. He chose his career and his marriage over Mom. So Jay Kaufman, the man Casey had thrown away 17 years for, had tossed her aside the moment things got complicated. Part of me felt vindicated. Another part just felt sad for the waste of it all. She made her bed. I said to Brianna, she can sleep in it. 2 days before the hearing, Frank called again. Ashton, I need to tell you something. Casey came to see me yesterday, begging for money, saying she can't afford a good lawyer, that you're trying to destroy her. What did you say? I told her the truth, that she destroyed herself, that I'm ashamed of what she did to you and to Brianna. She didn't take it well. I appreciate you being honest with her, Frank. There's more. I'm coming to the hearing. I'm going to testify on your behalf if your lawyer needs me to. I was stunned. Frank, you don't have to do that. She's your daughter. And you were my son-in-law for 17 years. A good one. You treated my daughter with respect, worked hard, took care of your family. She threw that away. I won't stand by and watch her punish you for her mistakes. The day of the hearing arrived. Vernon had prepared me thoroughly. We had the bank statements, the text messages, the proof of the joint account Casey shared with Jay. We had Frank willing to testify. We had everything we needed. Casey arrived with Martin Shepard. She looked smaller somehow, worn down. Her eyes were red, her face gaunt. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the months of lies, the betrayal, the way she'd looked at Jay at that gala while I stood invisible in the background. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Vernon presented our evidence methodically. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Winters, listened without expression. When it was Casey's turn, Shepard tried to paint her as a woman who'd made a mistake in a troubled marriage, who deserved a fair split of assets. Then Vernon called Frank to the stand. Frank walked up in his Marine dress uniform. He was 72 but stood ramrod straight. When Vernon asked him to describe Casey's character, Frank didn't sugarcoat it. My daughter made choices that dishonored her marriage and her family, Frank said. His voice was steady and clear. She lied to her husband repeatedly. She spent their money on another man. As her father, I'm ashamed. As a witness, I can testify that Ashton Wells is a man of integrity who deserves better than what he received. Casey broke down crying. Judge Winters called a recess. When we reconvened, the judge delivered her ruling. The house would go to me, with a small buyout payment to Casey spread over 2 years. The dissipated assets would be accounted for, reducing Casey's share of liquid assets by 30%. I kept my retirement accounts in full. Casey kept hers. We'd won. Outside the courthouse, Frank shook my hand. You did good, son. Thank you for being there. Someone had to stand up for what's right. Brianna hugged me tight. It's over, Dad. You can move forward now. I nodded, feeling the weight of the past months finally lifting. For months after the divorce was finalized, life started to feel normal again. Not the old normal, but something better. Something honest. I found work as a logistics coordinator for a manufacturing company in Tempe. The pay was decent, the hours reasonable. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and after everything I'd been through, stable felt like a gift. Brianna graduated that spring. I sat in the audience, proud and grateful, watching my daughter walk across that stage. Casey wasn't there. She'd moved to Flagstaff 2 months after the divorce, took a job with a smaller pharmaceutical company. We didn't speak. Brianna saw her occasionally, but their relationship was strained. The house felt different now. I'd repainted the bedroom, replaced the furniture, made it mine instead of ours. Every change felt like shedding old skin, like becoming someone new while still being myself. One Saturday morning, I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. I went hiking. There was a trail group that met every weekend at South Mountain Park. Brianna had suggested it months ago, said it might be good for me to get out, meet people. The group was friendly, a mix of ages and backgrounds. No pressure, no questions about your personal life. Just people who liked walking and fresh air. That's where I met Elise. She was in her early 40s, quiet but warm, with an easy smile. We started talking on the trail, nothing deep at first. Just the usual small talk about jobs and weather and favorite hiking spots. But over the weeks, the conversations got longer, more personal. One morning, after the group had finished and everyone was heading to their cars, Elise asked if I wanted to grab coffee. We sat at a cafe for 2 hours, talking about everything. Her divorce 3 years ago. Mine. What we'd learned. What we hoped for. My ex-husband cheated too, Elise said quietly. With multiple women. I didn't find out until someone sent me photos. I'm sorry. Don't be. It hurt at the time, but it taught me something important. I'm stronger than I thought I was. And I deserve better. Yeah, I said. We both do. We started seeing each other regularly. Coffee dates, hikes, dinners. Nothing rushed. Nothing heavy. Just 2 people who'd been through the fire and came out the other side, learning to trust again. One evening, Brianna came over for dinner. She'd met Elise a few times and liked her. As we sat on the porch after eating, Brianna looked at me. You seem happy, Dad. I am. Good. You deserve it. I thought about that later, after Brianna had gone home, and I was sitting alone with a beer watching the sunset. Did I deserve happiness? Maybe. But more than that, I'd fought for it. I'd refused to let Casey's betrayal define me. I'd stood up, gathered evidence, hired a lawyer, gone to court, and reclaimed my life. That wasn't luck. That was strength. And for the first time in over a year, I felt like myself again. Not the man I was before Casey's affair, but someone better. Someone who knew his worth. Someone who wouldn't settle for less than he deserved. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky orange and purple. I took a sip of beer and smiled. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and that was enough.